Hey guys, it's Jimbo's Grapes here with another Open Perpetuum tutorial. Today we're just going to be doing a... Why is this red? I think it just means I'm recording. Anyways, for today we're just going to be doing a quick walkthrough, and I say quick all the time, but usually it ends up being half an hour or more, so probably not that quick. Walkthrough of how to do the tutorial. When I go through it, I will add in some nuances and some other stuff that you may be having troubles with. So I just made my new character, Jimbo's Lemon. So let's dive right in. This basically goes through how to do this. Okay, so we've got our checklist here. So the first thing I'm going to say is it's impossible to get rid of this. You cannot, I'm clicking the exit button right now, and I cannot get rid of it. It will always be there. So all you need to do is click through this. Okay? If you accidentally hit the down arrow, or you get rid of it, or it's gone somewhere, in the bottom, right here, you see chat and you see rookie checklist. Chat's another one, you can't exit out of it. It'll always be there no matter what. You'll always be in a corp chat, or you'll always be in terminal chat. Okay? So if you ever minimize these and can't find them again, at the bottom of the screen, you see there's rookie checklist here, and there's chat here. You just click on that, it'll bring it back up. Now, as far as this tutorial goes, and for people that are watching this that are maybe making their second accounts, if you're just checking this video out, I'll give you a quick tip right now. You can actually skip all of this. You cannot skip the first little bit, but once you get your robot, you can actually skip all this. So I'm going to go over that really quickly. If you have a friend that's helping you out, or if you don't really like tutorials, I would highly recommend, if this is your first time playing the game, definitely do this. But if you're really against it, I will be showing you guys how to get out of the tutorial right away. So the introduction, blah 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 blah. I'm not even going to bother reading that. Using this checklist, you basically just click through it. UI basics. Yeah, you can move everything around. The biggest thing you're going to want is this top right button, the status window. There's not anything there right now, but when you're deployed or when you're in the terminal, a lot of what you're going to need is going to be up here in the status window. This is the one that you're going to use the most of. Okay? Client options, hit escape. This goes in here. It says right here you can also check out and set the hotkeys for a lot of actions. Highly, highly, highly recommend doing this. You go into keyboard. I don't think that there's a way to increase the size of this. Anyways, you go into keyboard, look through these, okay? Just look through all of them. It is so important that you know what your hotkeys are. Now, there's a couple things that I would recommend you do right off the start. Number one thing you're going to be doing a lot of is interacting with things and locking up things and shooting things. These are all going to happen a lot. Okay, so what you want to do is come down here, find out what the lock target and primary lock is. I haven't changed it from these. I still use F and R for these, and unlock. Approach and interact. These 5 right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Definitely remember what these are, get familiar with them, and change them if you want to. These are functions that you will be doing a lot of. Especially interact, you use this a lot. If you're out in the middle of the world and you're trying to get to a terminal, all you have to do is click on it and interact it. That'll make your robot autopilot towards it and go into the terminal as soon as it gets there. So interact is a really big one. Lock and primary lock are also really big ones. Alpha strike, space button. This means it'll fire all of your weapons at whatever you're primary locked. So also really, really important. Tab, I use this one a lot, cycling through targets. Cargo, C, take all loot. Again, look through all of these. The big ones, again, are interact, lock target, primary lock target, and toggle all weapons. All these top 5 or 6 here, you're going to use a lot. But still, look through all of your hotkeys and see that you know what they are. and if you do not, and sorry, just become familiar with them because you'll be using these a lot. I will quickly go over a couple of these, I guess more ones that you might not be familiar with. These toggle ones here, I don't have access to it right now because the tutorial is going to go over these in a bit, but these ones are for things that you'll do out in the world. Okay, so don't worry about these too much right now. The intrusion window, I'll be doing a video on that probably later. This is not something that you're going to need to worry about as a new player. Okay, and again, all this stuff, yeah, you could get hotkeys for it. I'm just looking through it really quickly if there's anything that I feel I desperately need to go over. Yeah, all of this stuff, again, this is the start of the tutorial. All of this stuff will be covered in the tutorial. If you want to later on, you can get hotkeys for it. Okay. The only other one that I would recommend, your chassis. These are where you put your guns. You might want to switch these with the 1 to 8 and put your leg modules on the F1 to F8 because your chassis are your guns, so you will actually be using these ones a lot more. Again, it's up to you if you get used to it. Like for me personally, I do use the F1 to F8 just because I've gotten used to that, but if it's easier for you to use the numbers, this is something that you might want to switch around right at the start. Okay, so again, look at your hotkeys, look over all of them. They're important. You're going to be using them a lot. All right. Okay, help and support. So with the Open Perpetuum project, it's important that you know that a lot of this stuff, these guys don't have ability to change. So some of this stuff might be outdated. Okay, which is why we're trying to build up a database of tutorials and guides like that. So although a lot of this stuff is good and helpful, remember that some of it has been changed. Okay, if you go to the help, or even in this very tutorial, which is why I'm doing this right now, even in this tutorial, there's some stuff that might be a little bit misaligned. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you go to help here and you type in something like, let's say, accumulator, which is how your robot works, or it's kind of like the energy system in this game. So if you go through all this stuff, a lot of this stuff may have been changed. Okay, so it's got all of these things here. It's got a lot of information. A lot of it's still good, but remember, some of it might have been changed. And unfortunately, right now as of making this video, a lot of this stuff isn't super easy to find. So read it, understand it, but also understand that some of this stuff may have been changed. Okay, for the most part, I'd say probably 90% of what is in here in the help is still good and still works and is still accurate. But remember, there is the 10% of stuff in here that has been changed and hasn't been updated yet. So just keep that in mind. Okay, communications. Again, as of this tutorial, it's 2018, May 5th, or sorry, May 22nd right now, in 2018. Really the only channels you're going to worry about are general chat. The rest of this stuff, recruitment, maybe if you're looking for a clan. A lot of people use the Discord, so recruitment, if you just want to stay in client, it's a good one to go to. And general chat is just a typical general chat that you'd probably seen in many other games. It's just where everybody can go. I will throw one thing out there. If you're in general chat, other people can see that you're in general chat. So if you're trying to be sneaky, trying to not know if anybody's online, you can go ahead and leave this channel, leave the recruitment channel, leave the help channel. All you do is right click to leave. And now no one can see that I'm online unless they specifically look me up and try to talk to me. Then they'd be able to see that I'm online. But otherwise, if you're out of those channels, then no one will be able to see that you're in them, obviously. Okay, so pretty straightforward so far. We're going through the tutorial fine. Terminals. Now you see it open up another button here. Terminals are like the main bases. There's typically 2 or 3 on every single island. Sometimes more, sometimes less, I think. Depends. But typically, these are where you do all of your robot fitting, all your industry, all of your skills management, everything other than going to kill robots really is kind of done in terminals. So keep that in mind. You're going to start off on New Virginia once you get out of the tutorial. Keep in mind that everything that you build up, all of your assets that you get in New Virginia, you will probably eventually have to move them somewhere else. So once you start to get up to around, I'd say 60 to 80 units of loot, which we'll go over later with more what that means. Just keep in mind for now that once you get up to about 60 to 80 units of loot, which is what the starter hauling robot can haul, you might want to start looking towards moving your stuff over to Hirschfield. Otherwise, you're going to have to make a lot of trips. New Virginia and Hirschfield are two of the islands that are in this game. This is an island-based game. There's a bunch of different islands, and you go between them, and each of them offers different things. I'll go over that in a bit as well. But for now, just know that terminals are what you do a lot of your stuff in. So once you get into a specific terminal that you kind of like and it's your home, you don't want to be building up too much stuff until you find a terminal that you really like and want to basically live there. All right, so private storage. This is where it can get a little bit annoying. All I can say about the private storage right now is make a lot of containers. All you have to do is right click, create container, and you can rename these. So if you have a container for ammo, let's say, you can rename it to ammo, create another container, rename this for ores, etc., etc. In your private storage, keep it organized. It makes it so much easier to keep everything organized. And containers are extremely cheap. 5,000 Nick is almost free. 5,000 Nick is extremely easy to come by. So don't worry about this cost at all. Make a bunch of containers and keep yourself organized. And you can delete these at any time. If you move to another spot and you don't want to have those open there in your other inventories. Okay, and what I mean by that is if you go to all items, it'll show up stuff here. So sometimes I like to delete any containers that I make because otherwise I get like 30 different terminals showing up here where I only have like 1 or 2 containers that I created in there. So if you're completely moving from a spot, I would highly recommend you remove everything and delete all your containers so that it doesn't show up in your all items tab. All right, activating robots. Now, all you need to do is right click and activate. If you don't have the proper skills, a little screen will pop up showing you which skills you need in order to pilot it. And what you can do then is go to train yourself those skills, which we'll be going over in a second. And you'll be able to pilot your robot then, as long as you have the appropriate amount of extension points, which we'll be getting to in a bit. So once you've got a robot activated, you can then deploy. I am going to tell you right now, you will have multiple robots and you will go to equip a robot, fit it up, get it all nice to go to the deploy button, and you will have forgotten to activate it, and you will deploy with the robot that you were in before. I still do this, as having played this game for about 5 years now. I will go hardcore, get my robot all nice and fit exactly the way I want it, go to deploy, and then annoyingly enough, I forgot to activate it and I deploy with a different robot. So I have to go back into the terminal and reactivate it again. So make sure you activate your robot before deploying. All right, and all you do to deploy is click the button up here, deploy, and it's just as simple as that, and then we'll get out into the world. So other than terminals, out in the open world is where you will be spending a good majority of your time. Just gonna double check, make sure I'm still recording. I am. Okay, perfect. So this is the world of Perpetuum, and we are on the training island right now. So in this tutorial, again, we're just clicking through it. We're going to the basic controls now. In order to get through the tutorial, you have to do all of these things. So right now, in order to get past this part, you just have to click WSAD, and then I want you to hold down the right mouse button to change your viewpoint, look around. As you're moving, you can move forward. Now I'm hitting top right, now I'm hitting left, looking around. You can also hold forward and just rotate your viewpoint. All I'm doing right now is holding W, that's all I'm doing, and I'm just rotating the camera while holding the right. So you can move around like this, or you can hold it like this, or wait. And then the next thing I want you to do is zoom in and out. Look how beautiful my robot is. Okay, good. It's got a good running attitude. Okay, the next thing you can do is double tap W to auto run. Again, holding the right mouse right now, I can look around and change my direction just like this. I can do a sharp 180, sharp 180, sharp 180. If you ever get into fighting stuff, PvP, you're going to be doing this a lot because you cannot auto run, which means that you will need to be doing this. So anyways, just looking around, and holding W. Next thing you can do is you can click on a particular spot and double click it, and you will run towards it. While you're doing this, you can look around and you'll see that my robot is still running towards the same spot. So that's important. All right. Now, one thing that the tutorial doesn't tell you, which is extremely important and you will be doing a lot of, on your radar, which doesn't actually give me the terrain window right now. Anyways, on your radar, you can actually right click and autopilot to a spot. You will be doing this a lot. Okay, so it's a little surprising to me that the tutorial doesn't say that you can do this, but you can right click and autopilot. Once we get to the map, you can also do this on the map, but the radar is probably the thing that you're going to be doing that the most of. All right. Okay, terrain slope. Just get my robot back over here. Terrain slope, you're not going to be dealing with a lot. It says to hit L to do it. You can see nothing even changed there. I wouldn't even really worry about it. Terrain slope is basically just certain robots can go over steeper slopes or less steep slopes. If you are in a robot and you approach a spot that you can't actually go into, it will pop up and highlight the ridges that you can or cannot go around. So slope, don't worry about it too much. Okay, and then now it's talking about the landmarks window, and it's open up the terrain window, which we've got not very much here. But if you've lost your landmarks or anything like that, you can access it again right here. Okay. The landmarks window, this is where you're going to be doing the majority of your clicking. If you want to select anything, if you want to go towards anything, this is where you're going to do most of it. So right now it's telling us to select the virtual training terminal. So we do that just by clicking on it. Good job, we're a hero. And now it wants us to go over to the unknown switch. So there's multiple ways that you could approach this. You could double click on it. My robot will start to go towards it. You could approach it. That's hotkey T. You could interact with it. That's hotkey V. Now my robot's, and again, I'm pressing V. Or what you could do if you don't know your hotkeys, you could do those same things here. I'm clicking on those right now. Approach will get you towards it. If you hit activate, for these switches, I don't think it automatically activates, but sorry, just double checking what I need to do here. So you can approach it, or if I'm far enough away and I hit V, I don't think I'll automatically interact with this. I think that only works for particular things. So yeah, I hit V there, I just walk towards it. If I hit V again now to interact with it, now I will interact with it. And ha ha ha, the thing blew me up. Sends me back to the terminal. So whenever you die in this game, you'll always have the option to request an ARC. These are horrible bots. They're the worst bots in the game, but you'll always have access to them in case you lose everything. Then you'll have the opportunity to get a new one and start over or get back to wherever you were to deploy back out into the world. So you'll never be stuck, essentially. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at the cargo. This particular part of the tutorial, I remember when I first did it, I got a little bit stuck on it because you're dealing with multiple windows and it doesn't really tell you specifically what you want to do. So all you want to do at this point in the tutorial is hit C, that opens your cargo. Another option is you could right click on here and click open cargo. Okay. Now, what it wants you to do is take stuff out of your cargo and move it into your private storage. So we'll go to equipping your robot. And it wants you to click up here, equip the robot. And it wants you to remove the Syntech by dragging it into your private storage. Now, one thing you could do is accidentally drag it into your cargo. Okay, that's not what it wants you to do. It wants you to drag it into your storage. So see, I've messed up now, and now, oh, it did actually progress it. So yeah, just as long as you remove it, you can put it into either one. Just make sure you don't get your ARC's cargo and your private storage mixed up, and you won't have any problems. It might even be easier to minimize this a bit so that you can keep track a little bit better. You can adjust these windows as much as you want, just to make life a little bit easier for yourself. No reason to make things hard, right? Okay, now the next thing it wants you to do is equip a light autocannon. So I don't know why I didn't do that, but again, this is kind of a little bit finicky. So you want to equip it, you can take it right out of your cargo, you can put it into your private storage, then onto your guy, but for simplicity, we'll just put it right into the cargo. Now it wants us to drag this small stack of armor piercing from our cargo into there. And then what it does is it pops up. You guys saw that there. Now, this is where I got confused because I had my inventory open like this, and then it's saying, okay, now grab the smaller piercing bullets. And I was like, well, where are they? So just know that they pop up in your private storage, and it wants you to take those. This is your extra ammo, and just put them into your cargo. Okay, and now I guess we're good to go now that we've got our robot equipped. All right, and since I forgot to mention it, I will now. If at any point in time you want to exit the tutorial and go right into the game, all you have to do is click on this teleport right here and interact with it. And it will bring you over to this right here. I'm not going to do this right now because I'm going to go through all the tutorial, but you can skip all of this the second that you actually leave the terminal. So I could have done this right at this point here. So once you get up to the deploy part, once you get to this part, you can actually skip all of the tutorial and exit out of it if you want to. There's no penalty. The only thing is you don't get any bonuses. So once I do this, I'm going to get a few extra robots and stuff like that by completing the tutorial. So if you already have a lot of assets and or your friend wants to help you out and you don't want to do the tutorial if you hate them, all you have to do is click on this, go teleport out, it'll bring you to exit transit 2, and then you can select which one you want to go to. Although I do believe all of these will just bring you to New Virginia. It just changes which robots you get to start with. But if you skip the tutorial, you won't get any robots anyways, so it almost doesn't make a difference at all. I think it gives you a few extra extensions depending on which one of these that you do. But it's such a minor amount that really it doesn't, it will make a big difference. So really, any one of them, if you know you want to do Pellistal robots, do that one. If you know you want to do industry, do that one. Again, I don't think it makes barely any difference at all, but just so you know. Okay, so now we finally get access to the map. So we click here, or you could use the hotkey M. I'm going to use the hotkey M because I am just so knowledgeable and I want to show off how smart I am. With the map, right click, you can create waypoints. These are really useful if you're mining or if you find a on you can create waypoints. And like I said before, you can right click and autopilot. This is the exact same as right clicking and autopiloting on here. You can also zoom out and oh, look at that. I've never actually seen this before. Okay, so don't worry about this. This seems to be bugged. I've never actually looked at this before, but that's kind of interesting. Once you get out of the virtual training grounds, you'll be able to see all of the islands and you'll be able to see exactly what's going on. But I guess for the purposes of the training ground, they didn't want to overload you with information, so don't worry about that, I guess. All right, so we'll exit the map. The maps are actually quite important once you get into the game, so just keep that in mind, but don't worry about it too much for right now. Now, one of the main ways that you get around this game is through teleports. So what it wants us to do now is click on this teleport. You can also click on it through your landmarks. I'm using my radar just because I know where it is and I know what it wants me to do. Click V. Now I'll autopilot towards it. You could also click interact here. You could also just manually walk towards it if you wanted to. Either way you want, it will work for you. But I am going to click V because that's what I like to do. I like to click the interact button. So I click V, haven't touched anything this whole time, and my guy, I should automatically get a pop-up. So that was because I clicked the interact button, it just automatically went towards it and interacted with it. Now I want to go to the shooting range. The cat is desperately trying to get into my room right now, but I'm going to ignore him because we're doing tutorials. Okay, so now it wants us to primary lock a drone. So what it wants you to do is click on this and click here. Now, since I know my hotkeys, I am not going to do that. I am just going to click R because it's way easier than clicking everywhere. And then once you've locked it up, you can activate these, again, either by clicking on them, F1 or F2, or spacebar to alpha strike. I'm going to hit spacebar to alpha strike, fires both of them. And now it's going to want me to destroy. Now, I've actually got containers turned off on my filter, so I'll turn those back on. Now, don't automatically go to pick up your container because otherwise you'll have to kill another drone. You need to reload your light autocannons first. So reload, and then it tells you to loot. So just so you know, if you do that out of order, you will have to kill another drone in order to get another loot box and loot. And now it wants us to go back. So again, click on here, hit V to interact, or I could hit teleport up here, or I could hit interact over here. There's, multiple things you can do. And now we'll go back to the terminal teleport. If you don't use the teleport, you could just walk all the way over there, but it's much quicker to do the teleporter. And it says to get near, so I will hit T to approach. I could also hit V and I will automatically enter it, but I'll hit T to approach just to show you guys. So I've hit T, I'm approaching it right now, same thing as clicking here. The enter button popped up here, I can click that and I'll go into the terminal. You could also interact with the terminal and that will cause you to enter it. Alright, now it wants us to go to extensions. Now I'm going to go a little bit in depth on here because the tutorial doesn't talk about it. And I will preface by saying that this part of the video is a little bit subjective. Okay, I'm going to talk about some things from my own personal experience. Just go over all of the extensions, give you guys an idea of what they do, and give you guys a general idea of kind of where you want to spend your points. Okay. So it says, basically all it says is to if you want to read through it, the long and short of it is you get extension points. You get those, I think it's 1,240 per day, or you also get them from killing stuff or mining or basically doing any tasks really. Industry you get them from harvesting, mining, doing intrusion events, building stuff, prototyping stuff. Killing stuff is the biggest one. You'll get most of your EP from killing NPCs, and I think that's all that I can think of right now. But basically, anything that you do in the game will give you some amount of extension points. Whether you want to be doing industry with building, or you want to be fighting NPCs, or you want to be doing events, or whatever it may be, you will get extension points for it for most stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go over the extension points. This is going to take a while, so if you're not interested in this, and again, like I said, it's a bit more subjective because these are kind of my own opinions on what the extension points are, but just to explain them because there's a lot here, it's a lot to unpack, and as a new player, this is something that is probably going to be a little bit daunting, and you're not really going to know where to spend your extension points are. And this is where you can always get more extension points, but as you get further into the game, it's harder to get them. So you don't really want to mess up too much where you put your extension points. Okay, so if you want to do any sort of stuff with your robot, which I think most people want to do, especially if you're a new player, most people probably aren't going to want to just strictly do industry. You can make an alternative account and have that account just for doing industry, but I think most people on their first account are going to want to be doing something with the robots where you're actually fighting stuff and doing things with them, whether that be mining or fighting or whatever. So that being said, you need to be able to put the equipment onto your robot. So the two that you're going to need are data processing. This increases your CPU performance. Any equipment that you put on a robot is going to take up a certain amount of CPU and a certain amount of reactor. And the way that you increase those are with data processing and reactor expansion, which is underneath engineering. So these two right here, CPU or data processing and reactor expansion, you're going to need to get these up for equipping your robot. Okay, I'm just going to reiterate that. Almost every single item takes up a certain amount of CPU and a certain amount of reactor. And if I go to equip my robot, you can see it's got my reactor usage right here and my CPU usage up here. You cannot go over this. Okay, you cannot go over your total, but you can increase your total by getting these two extensions. So you probably won't be hurting your character or having wasted points if you get this up to about 8, either of these. Those will be points that are well spent getting this extension up to about 8. Okay, once you start getting into higher modules and stuff like that, you can start to get this up to 9 or 10, but one thing you should know about extensions is that up to extension 5, it is not very expensive to increase your skills. Going from skills 6 to 10, it goes up exponentially. So a level, oh sorry, I guess I'll talk about this right now. There's also a complexity to each skill. So the higher this number is, the more points that it takes, and also the more that it scales up very, very fast. So this goes from 1 to 9. If a skill has 9, going from level 9 to 10 will take you about 30,000 extension points. So that's a lot. You could get several skills from 1 to 5 for what it would take to go from one skill at level 9 or at complexity 9 from level 9 to 10. So just keep that in mind. If you're curious what a skill does, get it up to 5, see how well it works out for you, but try not to go too much higher than that. And if you really like that skill and it's helping you out for what the purposes are that you want to do, then feel free to add more to it, up to about 8. And I would say don't go above 8 unless you really, really, really know what you want and what you're doing. Because again, getting those last two skills, 9 and 10, take a lot of points. That could, if you don't know what you're doing, will probably be better spent somewhere else. Okay, so again, that's a lot there. Let's get back to the point with CPU and reactor. So this is fitting your robot. Now, there's another thing with that. Anything that says economical will lower a particular set of equipment's reactor usage. The same can be true for anything that says optimized. So anything that says optimized will lower that particular set of equipment's CPU usage. Okay? So if you're going to have a combat bot, something like optimized weapon usage, you see here, lowers the CPU usage of weapons by an additional 3%. This is something that you're going to need to get as well. Optimized and efficient weapon usage so that you can equip your weapons. Okay, so anything that says optimized or economical, that's also to do with fitting your robot. And these are pretty self-explanatory. Economical shield usage, anything to do with shields, economical armor usage, anything to do with armors, economical weapon usage, these are your weapons. So that's pretty straightforward. Okay. Corporation management, I'm not going to go over any of these. As a new player, there's a small chance that you're going to be trying to run your own corporation. If you are, good on you, but you're going to have to look at that yourself. I'm not going to cover it in this. Okay, now electronics. Accelerated target locking, this is self-explanatory. I'm just going to go over some of the stuff that is more important. A lot of this stuff is kind of, oh, I guess one other thing I'll say that is a common phrase is efficient. Efficient usually means that it lowers the accumulator usage. So accumulator usage is your energy in this game. And it basically is what stops light bots from being able to use big guns because they have lower accumulators. So they have less energy in order to use big guns. Okay, so if you have a bunch of really accumulator heavy modules running, even if you have a heavy mech with that's well equipped, you might still run out of accumulator. So you'll need to invest a little bit in efficient skills. Okay, interface modulation, I'm not even going to talk about that because that is a very advanced thing that most people don't even use or know about. Jamming electronics, so this is, in this game there's a lot of electronic warfare. So jamming electronics, long distance electronic warfare, and there's a few other things that demobilization is another one. This is another form of electronic warfare. These are things, if you just click on them, they basically just increase the effectiveness of those particular things. Without being able to look right now, I can't show you guys what these are, but just know that there's a lot of electronic warfare in this game. You can look at it, and these particular extensions increase the efficiency of those. So for example, demobilization, it slows other robots down. You'll have something called a demob, and you equip it to your robot, and then you can target another robot with it and click it on them. And what this extension does is it increases the amount that it slows other robots down. Okay, so the rest of this stuff is very similar. It just makes that those particular electronic warfare modules be more effective. So that's jamming electronics and demobilization, and I feel like I'm forgetting one right now. Either way, these are things that, again, unless you really want to get into PvP, and you'll probably talk with a few other people about that, these are things that you're probably not going to want to get too heavily invested in, but because I will say right now, demob works fine even if you have very little skills into this. Only once you get to more advanced fighting that these little edges are going to make a difference. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Long range targeting, this is a skill that I particularly find quite useful. It increases your locking range. So there's two different factors with range on robots. One is how far you can lock, and the other one is how far your weapons can shoot. This is for combat purposes. So your locking range should be further than your shooting range because it takes time to lock up a robot. So if you're locking up a robot before they get within your shooting range, then you could lock them up, get within range, and then start shooting by the time that they're within range. So you usually want your locking range to be a bit further than your weapon shooting range. But again, that's kind of more nitpicky stuff. Don't worry about that. Locking range is a really good skill though, so I would highly recommend getting a few points into this if you're looking at doing any combat. And that's the long range targeting. Again, this is all fitting stuff, remote sensor amplification. So in this game, there are a few modules that are for assisting other robots. So one of those is sensor amplification. These are remote sensor amplifiers. They lower the locking time and increase the locking range of other robots. Sensor connection also increases that of sensor amplifiers and remote sensor amplifiers. Okay. Sensor suppressing, this is another form of electronic warfare. It does the opposite of sensor amplification. It lowers locking time and it lowers locking range. So this is another thing that you would target against enemies and lower their stuff. Signal detection and signal masking. I won't get super in-depth to this. All you need to know is that these don't actually directly affect you. They affect you if you put the module onto your robot. So signal detection makes you able to detect other robots more. Signal masking makes other robots be able to detect you less. Okay, so that's all I'm going to go. I'm not going to go into more depth. If you want to, you can click on this and you can read over this if you want to, but I'm not going to go into depth on it right now. Okay, engineering. Again, this is kind of Pretty self-explanatory stuff. Accumulator expansion. Again, this is your energy. This is a good one to get. Mechanics, these increase your robot's HP. They're pretty good ones to get. Okay, yeah, so again, this is a conversion. Electrostatics, this is another ECM type thing. Another form of ECM is energy draining, so this increases that efficiency. Uh, Again, economical stuff is for fitting purposes. Efficient energy transfer. This is one I'm going to talk about really briefly. If you played Eve, you're probably familiar with cap chains where you have multiple multiple ships with energy transfers on them, and you can all target each other up, and you actually create energy that way. This game does not have that. This game, the energy transfer devices have a amount of energy that they need and an amount of energy that they transfer. So for example, it will take 10 energy to activate, and it will transfer 200 energy. So that means the total cost of that is 210 energy. Okay, so you do not create energy in this game. So just keep that in mind. So when it talks about reduces the accumulator usage, that would be reducing the 10 energy that it needed to transfer the 200. This skill is somewhat somewhat useless, because most energy transfers have a very low accumulator usage to begin with. So it doesn't actually help out that much. Even if you get this up to 50%, it's not really helping you that much. This is one of the skills that is a little bit poopy, in my opinion. Again, this is my opinion. Some people may say otherwise, but I'm gonna say right now that as a new player, probably don't put any points into this one. Okay, unless you need it to equip a module. All right. Energy management. This is, in my opinion, a very important skill. It reduces the recharge time of your accumulator, so your accumulator recharges faster, which means you have more energy to shoot stuff and do things. Improved armor repair, so these are all, again, just increases to these particular things. Improved shield technology. If you're going to be using shields, this is a very important skill to get, especially up to around 5. If you use shields more, up to 8. It's got a... I guess I'll just go over this right now. How shields work is, if you have a shield up, whenever something shoots you, it takes from your accumulator instead of your armor. Okay, and shields do not factor in your resists. What they do is they have a ratio, so say they'll have a ratio of 0.2. That means you'll take 0.2% of whatever the damage is. So you're taking 20% of whatever the damage is. So if a bullet comes in and it does 100 damage, your absorption ratio is, if it's at 0.2, instead of 100 damage, you'll take 20. So getting this up is quite good. Okay, mechanics, that's more armor, gives you more armor. Again, optimize, these are all just fitting stuff. Reactor expansion, we talked about already, and remote armor repair just increases the amount that you repair with remote armors. Okay, so got that one covered, got that one covered. Again, this is going to be a little bit of a slug right here, because there's a lot to go over in extensions. And again, if you want to watch this later, if you want to just get to the action and skip this for now, that's fine. This almost should be a separate video by itself, but I mean, tutorial is straightforward enough that if you look at this, you'll get something pretty valuable out of going over all of these things, I think. So in this game, there's 4 different types of weapons. There's ballistics, kinematics, magnetostatics, and optics. So the basic and the advanced, these are just ways to increase the damage that those particular ones do. Okay, I'm not going to get too into the weapon usage, because I think that these ones are pretty self-explanatory. The only thing that you're going to want to know about weapons is that turrets do not include missiles. Okay, so there's a lot of things in here that talk about turrets. For example, general firing. That is not the same. This does not work for missiles. For missiles, there is missile launch. So you see the difference here? Raises the fire rate of all turrets by additional 1, Well, there's actually a little bit of a mistype here. So that should have been reduces. It should be reduces the rate of fire rate. And I've tested this. It does reduce it. It does not raise it. It reduces the fire rate. So if you're firing 3 bullets per second, this will lower it down to whatever, four bullets per second. Anyways, yeah, this is good. It improves it. So yeah, they've got raises and reduced here. I actually just noticed that, so they had a little bit of a continuity error here, but they're good. So anyways, this is turrets. This one is missile launchers. So when I first started playing, I thought that turrets encompassed everything, but turrets do not encompass missile launchers. Okay, missile launchers. If you're getting a skill for missile launchers, it requires a completely different subset of skills. But turrets includes uh, kinematics, ballistics. Sorry, ballistics is missiles. Yes, that's right. So turrets include things that use kinematics, magnetostatics, and optics. Ballistics are a set of categories that are by themselves. Okay. Um, if something improves both, it will say turrets and missiles. So that's something like target analysis. This one can be used for everything. All right. So if we go into sharpshooting, it goes turrets, not missiles. For missiles, it's actually propellant mixing that increases the range of those. Okay. So again, with weapons, missiles is not included under turrets. So just so you know that if you're looking to increase your missile damage or something to do with missiles, anything that just says turrets will not affect it. So don't waste your points on that. Okay, industry. I am going to be doing a industry tutorial soon, so I'm not going to touch this at all because that is way too much to go over to. That is way too much to go over, so I'm not even going to touch this. That will be in a future video on industry. Okay, so if you're in the future, just look for that video, and it should be underneath the same channel. So, but for right now, I'm not going to go over this because it's just way too much. I could spend probably almost an hour just on that. Nexus management. Basically, there's these modules in the game that provide bonuses, um, and they provide bonuses to your entire squad. You can have up to 3, and all of these just make those even better. Some of them actually, if you get them up to the max skills, double the rate at which those Nexus modules perform. So, for example, Assault. Each one of these, so an Assault Nexus uh, makes your guns shoot faster. If you put points into this, it makes it shoot an additional 1% faster for each point. So if you put 10 in, all your guns will shoot 10% faster. And it's the same thing for all of these. Some of these increase the distance that they do, like this one, the range by 10%. I believe that this one is the same thing, 20%. So you can increase your range by up to 300% or maybe even more than that, depending on how the math works. Okay, relations. This one is important. If you're doing any missioning, you will definitely want to get some points into contract negotiation because it will vastly increase the amount of nick that you earn if you're doing missions. So if you ever get into missioning, definitely throw a few points into contract negotiation. And if you're only doing a certain type of missioning, myself, I put about 5 points into field cache specialization because I did a lot of harvesting missions. So just something to consider. It's not a huge bonus, it's only 2%, but it is something that's worth considering if you're doing a lot of missions. Now, robot control, these are basically your requirements, and every robot has bonuses for it. Okay, so basic and advanced robotics are the 2 best skills in the game, in my opinion. If you have a bunch of extra points and you don't really know what to throw them into, and you're piloting mechs, get some points into advanced robotics because it works for every single mech and heavy mech, and usually it's the best abilities of those mechs. Now again, I can't show you guys right now, but for example, for all of the damaging mechs, advanced robotics, each point in it increases the amount of damage they do by 5%. So if you have this up to 10, your robot's going to be doing 50% more damage. Okay? Other than that, you'll have to look at the mechs themselves. All these are pretty self-explanatory, and they're kind of what you need in order to pilot robots. For heavy mechs, I think you need 8 points into it. So if you want to pilot the green heavy mech, which is a Grofo, I think you'll need, sorry, the Pellistal heavy mech, which is the Grofo. I think you'll need to get 8 points into this. So at that point, you're already at as many points as you'd probably want to put into it, so you're already getting all the bonuses for that. Finances, this is all just kind of if you want to do any marketing. These, again, are pretty self-explanatory. You open it up, it just says, if you're curious on what these are, you just open them up. And again, they're very self-explanatory, so I'm not going to go over these. And mineral extraction, I already talked about these in my basic mining tutorial, so I'm not going to go over these. If you're curious about mineral extraction, go check out that video, and it will give you an introduction to mining and all of these extensions. Okay? All right, so that's all the extensions. Again, I know that was quite drawn out, but I feel necessary for the tutorial and what you want to do with that stuff. So in order to complete this part, all you have to do is upgrade one thing, just upgrade whatever, and I'm ready to go to the next part. Sparks, again, these are kind of self-explanatory. Don't worry about sparks too much. A lot of them cost quite a lot, so just install the first one. Once you get into it, once you get into the game, this won't be actually in your guy anymore. So once you get into the game, you can look them all over, find out which ones you like the most, and install that one. So in order to get standing, to unlock these ones, you have to do missions. Okay? And once you do missions, you can unlock these and use them accordingly. And then some of the ones at the bottom that are really, really, really good are expensive, and they require quite a lot of nick to use. Like this one is 50 million nick. So at the start, it's going to be a while for you to accumulate that much wealth. All right, repair shop. Again, these are all pretty self-explanatory. You repair stuff in here. If you do have something that's damaged, you can right-click it, and there's an option to repair it right here, and it will automatically open this for you. Market. As of making this video, the market's pretty bare right now. In the previous game, before it all went under, the market was quite full. All you'd have to do is type something in here, and you'd probably be able to find it. So right now, oh, I actually do have a bunch of stuff in here. That's so I guess if you want to try stuff out in the tutorial, oh, they don't have it on here, but the Artemis they do. So if you want to try stuff on the tutorial, anyways, you can look through it on the market. This one is the market's a little bit bad. The main thing that I use is the filter. So if I'm looking for a particular robot, or if I'm looking for ammo, or if I'm looking for equipment, I'll just use the filter and I'll type in like that I need a let's say a laser gun. So then I'll go in here, find a standard laser gun. Sorry, this one, and then I'll just buy it like that. Anyways, it wants us to buy a Seeker, which is a robot, so we go to robots, Seeker, and there it is. The other way that you can get that is you can open this up, go to I want to say industrial robots, and it would be salts. Yeah, and if I get rid of my search here and I look at it, then it's got the Seeker in here. So anyways, yeah, you can find it that way. I'm not really familiar with doing it this way. If you want to, you can actually look through everything and open up the info and see what stuff does. But if you just want to absorb knowledge and you want to look at the mechs and the heavy mechs and check them out and see what their bonuses are, etc., see the advanced robotics here, one of the best ones to get for that one. Anyways, let's buy a Seeker because that's what I'm supposed to do. So robots, type it in, Seeker, and buy. And whenever you buy a robot, it becomes packed. The only way you can haul robots is if they're packed, so you'll have to do something like empty the robot, and then you can package it. So I will unpack this one, activate it. I'll show you, you can package this now because I emptied it. So now it's packaged. Okay. And assignments, open the assignment window. Wants us to do a transport mission, so you click it, request it. As you do missions, you get a bonus up to 5 and it'll give you extra stuff. And then from here, you just click deploy. Okay, so it wants us to reach position A, so all I'm going to do is just double tap on position A, and our robot will automatically go towards it. And you can already see that all of your windows are probably getting a little bit clustered up, so I'm just going to close some of these that I don't need, and keep my assignments right here, keep the tutorial window open. And if you want to get it out of the way and then open it up again later, either one works. Okay, and now where's our assignments? There it is. Fetch item. So we want to press V on this. That's going to go around the other way. Press V and that'll interact with it. Now, interacting with that automatically loaded up my cargo with this. Okay, so that is in my cargo now. And that happened from fetching the item by interacting with that particular point on the map. So now I'm coming over here, interact. Press V again, hit C to open your cargo, and drop it in there. And you've got your mission done. Now it wants us to go back into the training terminal. Okay, now it wants us to go into the Organo and activate it and deploy. Now this one will take a little bit of time because you have to constantly be loading and reloading and changing ammo types and stuff like that. When you're doing this out in the world, you're never going to have this many different types of ammo and stuff on your guy and different minor modules and stuff on here. This is just to show you. So it wants us to go to the terminal teleport. Again, click V. I'm heading over there. And go to the industrial area. And now it wants us to load the directional geoscanner charge. So ammo charge, directional geoscanner. Do not load the wrong thing because otherwise you'll have to wait about 20 seconds to pick something else. So directional geoscanner. And once that's ended up loading, it'll take us over to where we need to go. But I know that because I've done this tutorial so many times that it's going to bring us up over here. So I'm just going to go over there. Okay, so again, I talk about this in my mining video, how to locate. So really, I'm not going to go over that too much right here. If you're curious and you don't want to look at the video, just follow the tutorial and read what it has to say in here. And then once you've found it, once you've gotten the X, you need to load the tile-based geoscanner charge. And then once that's loaded up, you click it, it will show you the the ores. You lock one of the tiles, you hit it with the miner, and you're good to go. Then with harvesting, wants us to find a plant. Again, lock that up. This time I'm going to press F, activate your harvester on it, and you're good to go. Now it wants us to load the artifacting scanner. And again, I know that these are somewhere over here, so I'm just going to start heading over there now. You activate it, and for artifacting, this is actually one of the really good things that you can do on your own. You need a geoscanner and artifacting charges. This little guy here gives you an estimate of where you need to go. So what you can do, and this actually, it took me about 3 years to realize this. If I turn around, this little compass right here actually points to where the artifact is. So right now, if I line it up, it wants me to go that way. I will also say that my my radar is locked. So you can see I have it turning around right now like this. But I've got mine locked just because I prefer it that way, with north always at the top. So it says 406 kilometers that way. I can go into here, right click on the radar, set marker range, change that to 406, zoom in a bit, line up so that the arrow is pointing straight, and go right about here, and autopilot here. Now I can go grab a cup of water or whatever, talk about the tutorial some more, and oh, did I not do that right? Huh. I can't help but feel like something went wrong there. Yeah, because that's not 214 away. Well, either way, something's messed up here. It might just be that it's on the training island. You can do this on the actual islands, and I know for a fact that it works pretty well. But see, so I clicked it again, now we're within plus 27, so I want to make this little arrow pointing straight, go up to where I need to be, and it's somewhere around here. And once I think you're within 15 kilometers of it, and you click it again, I'm not exactly on right now, but I just know it's over here. So yeah, I think once you're within 15 kilometers of the item that you're looking for and you click it, it will open for you. So good. Now we need to head back to the terminal. So go back to the teleport, or if you want to, you can just go straight back to the virtual training terminal, but I'm going to use the teleport because it's a bit faster. And let's click through the last section of the tutorial. We're almost done. So we go back to the terminal teleport. And click on the virtual training terminal, hit V. Now this time I hit V, so I will automatically enter it as soon as I get within range. Not touching anything right now. I just clicked on it and clicked V, automatically entered it. See, I didn't hit enter there or anything. Okay, now it wants us to do a refinery, so we go to the refinery. And in your private storage, it gave you some stuff, gave you some Titan ore. So any ore or plants that you collect, you can refine them into more precise materials or more advanced materials, and these are what you use to actually make modules and robots. So it wants us to make some titanium. So titanium is way at the bottom. And just create recycling. Okay, now it wants us to go to the recycling plant. And it wants us to recycle the flawed armor. So you just click on this and recycle. And whenever you recycle something, it actually gives you about 80% of the materials back that you put into it. So recycling is actually a really, really good way to get the secondary commodities like these. So just keep that in mind. If you're fighting a lot of enemies and you're recycling a lot, you can actually get quite a bit of resources just from doing that. You don't necessarily have to mine everything. Okay. So now it wants us to go over research. So again, recycling. I will actually say something really quick. A good way to recycle is to sort by processability. So if you're out fighting stuff and you kill NPCs, any equipment that you pick up will be damaged. So if you're just in your storage and you select all items and you go to recycle, you can actually sort by process and then see if you're accidentally recycling anything that you don't want to. Oh, I just lost my connection. All right, I guess I will reconnect. So I'm probably going to get a sound glitch now. Whenever you disconnect and reconnect, sometimes it causes you to not have any sound. But that's okay. For the purposes of the tutorial, not a big deal. So for research, now it wants us to go into the research. In order to research, you have to have the proper skills for that. That's under industry, which again, I'm going to be talking about in a future video. So it wants us to now go into our private storage, go to the kernels here, right click and research them. Now it wants us to go to common 1 and research this guy. Now, once you've researched something, now you can prototype it. You can actually build stuff without researching it, but in order to actually build things, you have to prototype it. Any tier 1 item, you don't need to prototype. Okay, and again, this is stuff that I'm going to get more into detail, but just know, just for now, just never ever prototype any tier 1 gear or any ammo. Do not prototype them, because you can get the blueprint for them without prototyping them. Okay, so just don't do it. Do not prototype tier 1 or ammo. All right. Okay, now we go to the prototype facility, and it wants us to prototype this. I have no choice in the matter because it's part of the tutorial, but typically you would never want to prototype tier 1 gear. Okay, so we'll manufacture that. And now for 30 seconds it's going to take and build that. In the meantime, we'll go to the reverse engineering window. And this is why you'd never prototype tier 1 or ammo, is because you can just grab a standard or prototype item here. Prototyping an item takes 10 times the amount of resources to make. So it's way more efficient to just use a standard item, just a single item, to make a blueprint for it. In this game, they're called CTs, but it's essentially a blueprint. Okay, so we'll go to our private storage again, and it wants us to drag the standard light autocannon into here. And in order to prototype, you also need a decoder, so we'll drag a decoder in there and just start. And then once this is finished, we can go to the factory, and we gotta wait for that CT to pop up in here. Again, if we go down here, we've got our reverse engineering. See, it's gonna be another 15 seconds. Ugh. And we're almost done. Now we've got our CT made. Now all we have to do is drag the CT into our factory, hit OK, and now it wants us to manufacture some, so we just hit manufacture, and we are good. Okay, so I will talk briefly now about the robots. I'm not going to go through and do all of the robots right now, and this is going to be more from a philosophical and subjective view, because well, there's just a few reasons for that, which I'll go over right now. So in this game, there are 3 different classes. There's Thelodica, Pelistol, and Nimquil. I don't think I'm saying those right. Doesn't matter for the purposes of this. You guys know what I'm talking about. So what a lot of people will do is they'll say these ones are the yellow bots, these ones are the green bots, and Nimquil are the blue bots. And I will be referring to them as such from here on out. So right now, it takes all these robots and you go and kill a couple drones. Again, I'm not going to do that right now because I'll let you guys do it yourself. It's fun. You just click through it. By this time, you're probably familiar with the tutorial. This part's pretty straightforward. All you have to do is go to the combat place, activate a few modules, and blow up a few drones. You guys can do that by yourself. So what I'll do instead of doing that is I will talk to you about the philosophy behind the 3 different types of robots. Okay? So the reason that I'm talking about the philosophy behind them and not their specific abilities of them right now is that they might balance the robots. As of this tutorial, very few people are in heavy mechs right now, and nobody has been fighting with them yet. So it is entirely possible that once people start fighting with them, some of them may get buffed or nerfed. So I'm not going to talk about the specifics of the robots. I'm going to talk about the philosophy behind the different types of robots. Okay, so the yellow bots, that's these ones, they use laser weapons, and their focus is more on balance and long range. So these are your robots that shoot very far but don't do a lot of damage. Okay, they've got really long range, their weapons take up a lot of energy, and they don't do as much damage as the other robot types. Okay, so if you're looking for a long range sniper class type deal, then you're going to want to go with yellow robots. Uh, Green robots, the pedestal robots, and I'll just show you guys right here. So the one that it will get you to use is the Tyrannos. That's this guy. These guys use missiles. So missiles are decently ranged. They do decent damage, so they're kind of a mix between range and damage. And they have a really, really slow cycle time. So they're like kind of slow, heavy alpha shots with good range. So they're almost like I'd almost attribute them to being more like artillery type robots. That's not really doing them justice, but it's not completely inaccurate to say it kind of like that. Um, and the thing with missiles is they can shoot over stuff. So in PvP, this is extremely beneficial, and also for fighting NPCs, you can actually cheese stuff. If you find appropriate spots, you can actually kill stuff that normally you wouldn't really be able to fight because you can actually cheese them a little bit. So the way to think of green robots is they're they're more like a siege type robot. Okay, um, so that's a decent way to think of these type of robots. Now Nimquil, you're going to get into the what's called the Cane. The philosophy of the Nimquil robots is they're kind of like close range bruisers. Everything in this gun uses ranged weapons. There's no melee weapons, but these guys typically have high damage, good cycle times, like fast shooting guns, and they're also lower range and also higher accumulator usage. Uh, Typically, blue bots are also faster than the other two bots. So they're quick, they hit hard, and they have short range. So that's basically the philosophy behind the blue bots. Okay, so again, yellow bots are more like your snipers, blue bots are more like your close range brawlers, and green bots are more like your middling slash siege type bots. Plus, still are kind of hard to describe. Now, I will say, um, with red and blue bots, or sorry, yellow and blue bots, they both use turrets. Same as a third or a fourth faction, which I haven't talked about yet, which is the Syndicate robots. Syndicate robots are kind of the neutral faction. All three of those primarily use turret weapons. So a lot of the skills are transferable between these three different types of robots. That's the yellow, the blue, and the Syndicate robots. Pedestal, however, mainly focus on missiles, which are their own category. So if you're undecided or you want to try out a few different types of robots, just know that it's much easier to switch between yellow, blue, and syndicate than it is between green and any of the other robot types. Okay? So if you're going into green, know that all robots are viable. All different factions are viable and good, and they have their advantages and their disadvantages. But if you're going into green, know that transitioning to a different type of robot on the same character is going to be more difficult, just because the skills don't transfer over as far as your weapons go. Okay, so keep that in mind. Other than that, once you're done, and again, I'm going to skip this right now because I don't actually really need any of this stuff. I've got quite a bit of it already. So once you're done, you get to the final task, you deploy, you go down here to the exit. I haven't really decided what I wanted to do with this character yet, so I'm a little bit undecided. I'm going to say it's a safe bet to go with the industrial exit because almost all of your characters are going to want to be able to use at least a hauler. it makes life a lot easier. So I personally am going to go into the industrial exit. If you guys know what you want as far as what I talked about and which type of combat robot you want, pick the appropriate exit. You got green here, blue here, and yellow here. I'm going to go into the industrial one because I don't really know what I want to do with this character yet. So I know that this whatever skills it gives me for this will be at least somewhat useful. So you just come down into this exit here, and again, you could do this from the second that you deploy. If you really wanted to skip all of this, go to the exit transit 2. And I'm going to go into the industrial exit. And then once I get there, you can go check all of these out. It doesn't automatically teleport you. Even if you go click interact with it, it'll give you a prompt first. You can go check out what all of them say if you really want to. Like I said, I'm not going to because I've already done this probably 20 times, playing over multiple servers. I've done this a lot. So I'll give you a prompt here. There is no drop-down menu. It's all New Virginia, so it will take you to New Virginia. Once you decide what you want, all you do is click activate. You should have 4 out of 4 starter packs if you did played around with the robots, which I would highly recommend you do. Go play around with the robots because it's fun. You get to kill stuff with the mechs, which is I find enjoyable. New Virginia, activate. And I need to confirm my email. But anyways, that's the end of the tutorial. I got to go confirm my email because I haven't done that yet. So that's the end of the tutorial. I really hope you guys found this useful. I know that there was a lot here to digest. But again, get through the tutorial. This game is awesome, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. And I'll see you guys out in the world. So thanks a lot for watching. Catch you guys later.